Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Latinos in Real Estate Investing Podcast, where individuals just like you come to learn how to create wealth through real estate investing, entrepreneurship, and business ownership. And today I have two special guests, returning guests, John Mendes, and he's a AI specialist, and Amanda, a marketing specialist. Amanda Holmes, they're both here for a second time. I really enjoy my conversations with these two guys. And today we're going to be talking about the future of marketing for 2024 and beyond, with so many changes happening in the industry and social media, and there's just so much information, chat GPT, AI, it's just so much happening. And I have Amanda Holmes, which inherited her father's business, and I'm going to let her tell us a little bit about herself in a moment here, where her father is a marketing guru, and I have John, which is he started his business and he is more on the digital and the chat GPT, and I just want to merge these things together and have this roundtable with these guys. It's very smart people in the marketing space, and bring it to you. So Amanda, welcome. Why don't I start with you ladies first? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first, really quick, before we get started?
Yeah. So for those that are unfamiliar, Ultimate Sales Machine is our methodology. We have 12 core competencies on how to double sales, and we've assisted 250,000 businesses worldwide. I was just in Switzerland last week celebrating the 16th language that the book has been translated into, Italian. And
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on. I took over the company 11 years ago. I was a singer-songwriter prior to that. And so you can imagine my utter shock as my father unexpectedly passed away. It was devastating. And then here I am, 24, trying to figure out a couple hundred staff. But I followed the principles. I started reading my father's book, which I'd never read before. Started watching all of his trainings, and I increased our leads by 1,176% in the first year. I doubled our clients multiple years in a row. I hit the bestseller list for the new edition last year, which was a ton of fun.
Congratulations.
Yeah, double-digit growth, doubling sales, all of that wonderfulness. So I'm really just focused on how can you double your sales while cutting your stress in half, because I watched my father die at 55. And the average CEO lives 5 years less than the average human being because of the amount of stress that we put on ourselves. So I'm just always about working smarter with every move you make and being able to grow in the fewer bets, bigger deals.
Well, thank you for that. I'm going to live to 120, Amanda, so I reject that.
Good. Line of some clients that I refer you to.
Yes, please do. John, tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Yeah, so I'm the host of the Walk to Wealth podcast, where I enlighten and empower young adults to build a wealthy, abundant life. And that's really is more of my purpose project. I like to say that's really what fulfills me and energizes me. But what I'm here on the podcast today again for is to talk about the AI. A lot has been changing over the past year since I last hopped on. And so I'm here to give you guys the game, the strategies. I help business owners create a year's worth of content in under an hour using AI. Most of the stuff I learned from being in the sandbox and playing around with it myself and figuring it out. And so here to drop the game and drop the strategies and tactics you guys can use so that in this next upcoming year in 2024, AI is not going to replace you. Someone using it will. And hopefully you're not the one getting replaced. So that's what I'm here to do today, is to provide you the strategies.
Outstanding. I'm excited about that. And so I'm going to start with you, Amanda. My question to you is, again, guys, this is a little different than what we're used to doing. This is a more of a round table discussion with these two brilliant minds in marketing. So Amanda, I want to start with you to give us the basics. What is the difference between marketing, branding, and sales?
Well, the ultimate goal of marketing is to create top of mind awareness. So as soon as a prospect needs your product or service, you're the first person that they think of. That's why you're using social media. That's why you're using emails. That's why you're marketing. So with that, I love the quote by Steve Jobs, where he says, the goal of marketing is to make the sales process obsolete. And you see one of the largest companies in the world, Apple, where there are lines down the block for an Apple store, and yet every other retail store is, in this apocalypse of retail where people aren't going to physical stores anymore, but it's because they've done such a great job at marketing. So I'm very big about how can you create the desire and that top of mind awareness with marketing so that sales is easy and effortless. I'm not really big on branding per se. I grew up in a household where if you could have a sweatshirt that had a name brand on it, or you could get a sweatshirt that was just a good quality without the brand, my father just freaking loved that and would never buy the branded stuff because he thought it was a bit of a sham, which is funny because he was a mastermind in marketing. Mm-hmm. So I'm much more in the direct response kind of world. I believe that marketing should be something that generates a response, whether it's an opt-in or a like or an appointment or downloading something or interacting and engaging, rather than just putting something out there with your name on it and hoping that someday people will interact.
John, how do you use AI to get direct marketing responses, like Amanda was just saying? Because I'm kind of in that camp as well, Amanda, with you. I focus my business solely on getting direct responses because that's what leads to sales. I'm a smaller business. And we need to generate cash flow. We need to generate deals. We need to find those deals. So I'm about that direct. So John, how do you do that using AI?
It's funny that she mentioned, Amanda mentioned direct response marketing, because for me, I don't have a background in direct response marketing, but the people who I learned marketing from were in direct response marketing. So Russell Brunson, who mentored him, Dan Kennedy, right? So one of the things that I literally always type into ChatGPT whenever I'm writing sales copy or email copy. Usually, if it's for a sales page, I'll write it myself. I'm not the world's greatest copywriter by any stretch of the imagination, but I still think that AI is not at a point where they can exactly mimic how you write and all your little mannerisms and everything. So I still write for like sales pages. I'll write my stuff, but like for general like email stuffs and reminder emails and some like opt-in page landing your sales copy where it's like it's not that important, I chat GPT a lot of it. And one of the things I type in, one of the frameworks I use is the RACE framework. It's role, action, context, and expectation whenever I create a prompt, right? Role, action, context, expectation. So in the role portion, right, a lot of people say like, oh, imagine you're a social media marketer. Oh, imagine you are a marketing expert, whatever. Literally what I type in is sometimes let's say, imagine you are Dan Kennedy and I just paid you $100,000 for one-on-one consulting. What tweaks, suggestions, and feedback would you give to boost the conversion rates literally to the most highest level? I'll find the exact word for word prompt in a couple seconds, but I literally tell it to act as if it were Dan Kennedy. And then sometimes I'll be like, all right, now act if you were Russell Brunson, how would you write this sales page? And then I was like, all right, take the best from both of them and provide me with a copy. And then I'll take that and I use that as the first initial rough draft, right? I don't ever take it and just use it there as is. I'll take it and then add as a spinner, or I'll take it and say, all right, what would Dan Kennedy think about this? And so I try to get from their perspective the reasoning behind why they change certain things. So then when I'm writing it myself, I could try to apply some of that same logic and some of that same reasoning whenever I'm writing whatever I need to write.
Amanda, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love it. I do the same thing, but because we have so much content out there, I say write it like my father, Chet Holmes, or like Amanda Holmes, and it's cool to see how quickly you can get responses. I think that what's critical to know when you're using AI is that you still need to be very clear on what your strategy is, the strategic objectives you're trying to make, so that then the tactic of creating whichever sales page you have or marketing collateral you have aligns with the greater vision. So for instance, I'll give you an example. 40% of content that's produced online actually hinders the probability of a sale today. And it's because we're thinking so tactically about how we talk about our product or service. And then if you also decide, okay, I'm going to write this specifically for this market, you could go down a rabbit hole very quickly of the wrong kinds of markets. Like 60% of businesses don't make a profit, and it's because we work with the wrong individuals that are losing us cash or break even. So I just forewarn that you should make sure that your strategy, the 30,000 foot view, is very clear, and each step, and I can give a 4-part framework on this for strategy of how to double your sales. If that is clear, then the tactical implementation of each sales page and each marketing piece should work seamlessly now because you have AI.
When you say 40% of content actually hinders the probability of a sale online. Can you be specific on that? Give me an example. Give me and the listeners and John an example of what you mean by that.
Yeah, so you could be educating a prospect on all the things they need to look for before buying a house, but if you are not correctly resetting the buying criteria and leading to you as the only logical conclusion, then you've just educated them to go to your competition and they'll purchase from them. So we have to be very clear about how we're educating and what we're saying, because we're also turning off if we speak to everyone, we speak to no one, right? When we market to everyone, we market to no one. So the more that we can get more clear on who our better buyers are, and we speak to their pain points as if they feel that you understand them so clearly, they say, oh my God, that is me. Yes. Very often we don't understand what's going on in the minds and the lives of our best buyers. So instead, we're alienating them or causing them to go to our competition.
John, how do I use AI to help me create and get so clear that avatar or that strategy, like Amanda said? How would you do it?
Yeah, so to continue where Amanda kind of left off, right? Everyone has a conversation that's going on in their head all the time. And so a lot of time when people market, right, they're trying to imagine there's someone walking down the street. They don't know who you are. You don't know who they are. And they're just casually walking, random, middle of the day, right? Let's say New York City. And you're just like, hey, I have this coat for you. Want it? And it's the middle of the summer. That's what most people are doing when it comes to marketing. They're just trying to talk to whoever they can get their hands on. It's like, hey, I got this. Want to buy it? And that's not the way to go about it. Dan Kennedy talks about too, to keep on talking about him. Yeah, I had this one story. I just literally signed up for his annoying pest to welcome guests challenge. And one of the stories he shares is that he was in his house and there was a fire going on, but he didn't know. And so one of the annoying neighbors was banging on his door, and he just ignored it. And then the neighbor just kept banging on the door. Finally, he goes to answer the door, right? And the neighbor's like, hey, there's a fire in your yard. And then instantly that annoying neighbor became a welcome guest immediately, because now it's like, okay, he is actually helping me out. And so you have to figure out what conversations are people already going on in their head, so you can enter the conversations where they're already having them, instead of trying to change the conversation to whatever you sell or whatever you offer, right? So now how to go about doing that is there's mainly 3 tools I use, and it kind of came from Jim Edwards. He's a big copywriting guy. He talks about every person has the PQRRs, right? Problems, questions, and roadblocks. These are the 3 things that are holding them back. Your ideal avatar, whoever that may be, has 3 main things: problems, questions, roadblocks, right? You have to understand those 3 things. And then the 4th thing you have to understand, the last R, is the result. What's the ideal result? And so when you think about content or marketing, or at least the way I think about it is, all right, is it speaking to one of their problems, questions, or roadblocks that's currently stopping them? And is it helping them, or is it helping them get to their ideal result? And so the way I see it is that your content is literally just a bridge from where they are to where they want to be, right? And so the way I go about trying to figure that out, so it's not a guessing game, it's one of 3 main ways, right? There's research, right? Market research. There's surveying that I do, and then just my own personal experience that I could probably relate to. And so with the market research part, the website, I think I talked about this last time I hopped on, but Answer the Public, right? It's the best way to figure out what people are searching up online. It aggregates the information from Google. It used to just be Google, but now it's Google, Bing, and YouTube. And it gives you, based on a keyword, literally everything that people are searching up. So let's say you typed in ChatGPT, it would give you literally, and you can do 3 free searches per day without having to even create an account. So there's no excuse why anyone isn't using this. And it will give you 200 plus questions, and then it will rank them by the ones that have the highest search volume for you. So it's boom, right there. That's one way I figured it out easily, right? A next one that's kind of underrated, Quora.com. If you have any
with a K or with a C?
With a Q. Quora. Yeah, any of these, it's just like a Yahoo Ask type of thing, where it's like where people can kind of just go on a forum and ask questions and like literally just look up what are people talking about, like what questions do they have, and see the conversation that people are having. And if a lot of people are in that conversation thread, you know, that's something that may be interesting, right? And the third one, which I actually found like maybe like 2 weeks ago from the day we're recording this, it's called a Viral Finder, and it'll show you the top accounts that you're, let's say, for example, in AI, one guy I follow is like Mr. Grateful. And so I could just put in his username into the Viral Finder, and it'll rank all his most engaged content. And so then I could see that and see where things they're doing good. And then you go in the comments from his content and see what people are talking about or what questions they may have that wasn't answered in that video, right? So that's like 3 right there for the research side of thing. For surveying, I literally just go in Facebook groups and I just ask, but I always ask as if I'm the person that needs help and confused. So I know a thing or two about ChatGPT, but I'll go in there and I'll say, man, like I've really been struggling to use ChatGPT for this. Like, how are you guys using it? And then I'll see how the other people are using it so I can get a feel as to where they're at. And then for experience, I usually just literally talk about like my experience. Like, what have I done when I was first starting off using ChatGPT or messing around with AI? Because if I struggle with it, most likely there's someone else who probably struggles with it. Like sometimes I teach a presentation and I'll do like a webinar or workshop, and I'll literally say, if you want to use the real official ChatGPT, go to openai.com. Because there's so many people that come up to me and it's like, John, I downloaded the wrong app. Like, because all these GPT apps and ChatGPT 4 using, and most people don't understand that they're using the API key. It's like literally just go to openai.com. And it sounds super, super simple, but it's like we all have like the kind of the curse of knowledge, right? And so because we're so good at what we do now, we think we're explaining it simply, when most people who aren't in this space at all look at us like we have like 7 heads. And so it's like sometimes I just get super, super granular on like my own experience of when I started off, and people resonate with that.
Amanda, this question is for you. What major trends do you anticipate shaping the marketing industry in 2024 and beyond, with all of these things coming into play now, right? ChatGPT, social media.
Well, I'll take it a step behind that, because the recession that we're experiencing and we're in the middle of, it's very interesting to see how different groups are accepting that there's a recession and the others that aren't. 75% of CEOs are worried for a recession, but 72% of them are confident that they'll be able to get through it. Now, my research firm did some analysis, and they found this study that was done over 4,000 companies over the last 3 recessions. And what they found was 91% of those companies either broke even, lost revenue, or went bankrupt. And only 9% of them grew when spending was retracted. So we are in the midst of, over the next 12 to 18 months, definitely going through a lack of spending. We'll start to see it drop off significantly. We're seeing it in B2B. The average B2B decision maker, 81% of them are pulling back their spending. And when you cut spending and when recessions happen, majority of businesses, what they cut first is marketing, which is so counterintuitive to me. Right? If you want to grow, you don't stop the thing that helps you grow. So marketing will get slashed and sales will get slashed. But I will tell you that research study also showed that those that continued to market during times of struggle came out 25% higher in revenue than everyone else that cut during that period. So you're better off continuing. It's just you need to get hyper focused on where you're spending your money and making sure that it's giving you high ROIs. So this is where we get hyper-focused, because 92% of companies don't have a sales process. We're 0.08% of colleges in the United States have sales as a major in college. So we don't go anywhere to learn the skills of sales. And we just, because 15 years ago, there were the average company was on 7 different marketing channels. Today, we're on an average of 15 plus 5 social media platforms and 3 paid advertising sites. I mean, we're doing double the amount of work just to get some bit of semblance of people hearing us, because the noise is so much louder. So what I'd recommend is step number 1, get hyper focused on what your goal is. Where do you want to grow to? If you're selling real estate, how many doors, how many properties do you want to close? And then the second step is who will help you get there the fastest. And very often what we find is that people go and just take whoever is coming in as a referral rather than hyper focusing on just a few that could generate you that revenue much faster. Somebody maybe of higher net worth, or somebody that has an influence to many people of high net worth. Whatever that dream buyer may be, you have to get really focused on who they are, because if you know who they are, then you can focus on where to market to them. Because I can't say you should go to Instagram. I can't say you should do direct mail. I just did something where we do a lot of direct mail because a lot of people don't have a lot of things in their physical inbox. Now it's gone virtual. But I just did a thing for nomadic RV influencers, and they don't have an address. They live in an RV. So I can't tell you it should be here or there. What I can tell you is find who your best buyers are and then analyze where they spend their time. Because at different age groups, right? Some will be more on Snapchat, others will be more on LinkedIn, some will be at a country club, others will be, right, at different events. So it really depends on, it has to come from what's your goal, who's the most important person that will help you get to that goal the fastest, and then where do they spend their time?
Fire. Love it. I got to listen to this all over again when it's recorded. So how does one create a strategy? So I'm going to give you a hypothetical. So one of my ancillary businesses is selling online courses, right? I have a real estate course where I teach individuals how to find their first real estate deal. Like, you want to get involved in real estate? I've always struggled marketing that. If you are advising me, where are those people? This question is for both of you. How do you find, so you said, both of you said have one thing that you both have said is it's knowing that clarity of who your customer is, right? How do you figure out where those people hang out at that would buy whatever course whoever is out there selling, right? Where those people hang out at, how to get hyper-focused, and then how to get to them. How would you, that question is for both of you, how would you create that strategy?
Well, I think that, with your podcast, right, you've focused on Latinos, which I love because part of me is Latino. I'm very big into salsa dancing. I used to be competitive in salsa. So I have a very strong love for the Latino culture. But I would just start to figure out, where do Latinos congregate? And even those that are looking to excel, right, they probably have no idea that they could be buying a property, right? Because their reality is something completely different. So how can you educate them on what they need to know to be able to have a secondary real estate, asset that can actually be making them money? I think that would be great. So where do they spend their time? Are they at churches? Can you be a sponsor at a church function? Are they at the salsa club? I know that there are a lot because I was just at salsaing here in Austin 2 nights ago, and there were Latinos everywhere. So I think that would be rather interesting. I mean, it would be great if there were business organizations as well that were focused on Latinos, whether it's business owners or people maybe of higher net worth that were also Latino. That's pretty cool.
What about you, John?
So I had a keynote that I did earlier in the year, and I titled it jokingly, but I titled it "How to Ethically Steal Other People's Audiences." And so essentially what I learned when I was still in real estate was circle prospecting. And it's like the best thing I learned because I took that and ran with it. And so in real estate, there's one time, this was like I think I was maybe 8-10 months in. There's a Cape Cod. It was about 800,000. I think it was 825, newly listed. The realtor who was listing the property, she was my real estate coach. And so she was out of town for that weekend. The property was coming on the market. She was like, "John, can you host an open house?" I'm like, "Sure, of course. Beautiful home, beautiful area." And so what I did is I got some door hangers and I knocked down every door in that neighborhood a couple of days before, right? Come the day of the open house, we had, I think, 32 families in a 2-hour window. And I was the only person hosting it myself. So although it wasn't that many people, because I worked at a restaurant, so I could manage, I could handle crazy people coming in and all that, a bunch of crazy amounts of people coming in at the same time. But that was like, at that time, one of the busiest open houses we had in that, that during that period. That's when the market was still like super hot. And what I learned is like, when you have access to one property, you now have a reason to engage with all the properties surrounding it. So now leaving real estate, I was like, all right, I never really ran a business before. I never had a podcast before. It's like, how can I take all this stuff that I learned over the past year in real estate and apply it to what I have going on now? So what I do is similar to what Amanda said, is where the community is at that they're hanging out with. Become a member of that community, right? Join the community from within. Start providing value to that community with no expectations of anything in return, right? Start sticking out by just providing value, right? Just free game. And from there, get connected with the ringleader. Whoever runs the community, whether it's the CEO, let's say it's a not-for-profit, let's say it's just like a mastermind group and is the host of the mastermind, whoever is the ringleader of that community, of that group, become cool with that person. If it's someone that you don't genuinely align with, then find another community and start again. But if it's someone you naturally align with, connect with that person. They'll eventually, notice you from all the value you're giving to the group. And then from there, see if there's ways to collaborate. And that way, now when you get in front of the group, you're not talking to individual members. You're instantly endorsed by the person who runs the community. So let's say I did a webinar without doing that. Yeah, I could probably get some of the people in the community to join my webinar, join my workshop or whatever, because, they're interested. But now let's say I'm endorsed by whoever runs that community and I'm doing a webinar and the guy who runs the community is like, John's hosting this amazing thing. You guys got to be there. Now, instantly, all of his raving fans now become my raving fans because I was endorsed by that person. And then from there, do whatever it is, whether it's a webinar, workshop, doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you offer, find some free way to teach and show that you're competent in what you do. And then from there, right, boom, now you're instantly in front of not just a couple people in the group, but you're in front of the whole group. And because you're endorsed, now your rapport that you didn't really have instantly skyrocket because the host of that group already has the rapport built. And now you have his trust, which means you have the group's trust.
Awesome. I love you guys marketers, right? You guys, the way you guys think and the way you guys process. But to someone that's not a marketer, that's not in your game, someone that's listening to us that's not in your game is still saying, okay, great idea. What you said, John, common sense. What you said, Amanda, common sense. But what's still, it's unanswered for me, if I'm processing this, is how do I know what process can I create, or what process would you give me, the listener, to find out where those people are hanging out? Amanda, you mentioned salsa club. You mentioned church, or one of you did. Okay, well, if I'm selling light fixtures, how do I know where those people that are, like, what process can I do? What set of questions, what process, what system do I go through to figure out where these people are hanging out? That's what I want to know. Like, all right, you told me, great, awesome. So if I'm a realtor and I want to, like you said, John, and I want to get and work with investors, then I'm going to call me, right, Martin? I'm going to call me. Hey, Martin, you have a podcast, you have influence in the space, you host a meetup, you get investors coming into space. Great. So, Amanda, I'm going to start with you.
So you could think about like typing into Google the top 10 Latino podcasts, right, if in the United States, and start digging into the most influential podcasts, and maybe they're even around business as well, so that you get people that are a little bit more savvy and looking to increase their sales or their personal income. Then I would type out the top 10 Latino blogs that help with growing wealth. I would look at the community groups for Latinos in my geographic area. I would Google the most common LinkedIn groups. I would go back to who are some of your best clients that you've had before, or people that you know that you've really resonated with.
There you go.
Think would be a great client. Then I would look at all their social media profiles and I'd see, where do they spend their time? Okay. Oh, they're in this LinkedIn group. Oh, that's good to know. Oh, they're in this Facebook group. Oh, they follow this influencer. So I would backtrack and find people that you already know and where they've spent their time, and then just recreate the wheel. I just had a client. We did we call it the Dream 100. My father invented it. It's the fastest, least expensive way to double sales. And we were trying to get more defined on who they got as clientele. And when we backtracked, their biggest clients came from a gym that they attend. And this new joke was that the CEO was mandated that he would have to spend at least an hour a day at that gym so that he could round up more clients, because it was a very fancy gym. You had to pay like $50,000 just to be able to go there a year. Yeah, it was a really, really high-end gym, and that's where they got majority of their clientele. But it wasn't until we actually backtracked it and looked and said, okay, this is serious. If this is where you're getting your leads, continue. So have you looked back at who were some of your best clients and how did you get them and where did they spend their time? That should help as well.
That's a great strategy. You see, that's a clear strategy on how to flush out where the people are hanging out. So, John, if I'm selling light fixtures and I want to sell more light fixtures, how do I flush out where people that buy light or need light fixtures are hanging out? Well, what advice are you giving me?
So for light fixtures specifically, right? If it's it's hard to give like specific tactics for different business, because like light fixtures, like I feel like everyone needs light.
I don't want just specific. What I'm looking for is more so of like a process that a listener can use regardless of what they're because what you're saying, like, it's not the first time that my listeners are hearing this. It's not the first time, but the part that's missing for people is, okay, but how do I flush it out to figure out? Just because, like, okay, Amanda says Latinos, right? So just because I'm a real estate person that has a real estate course or that sells real estate or that has apartments for rent, doesn't mean that if I go to a Latino church that everyone in that church is looking for what I sell. Just because I go to a Latino salsa club doesn't mean that everyone in that club needs what I sell. So what I'm looking for is what process, is there a process or a system that you guys can advise for someone that has a product to help them, and Amanda, you helped with that, to help them identify where to go. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it's great theory, right? Easy. I could talk real estate because that's what I do. Hey, I want to talk to investors. Hey, I want to go hang out where investors are. That's easy for me. It's a Captain Obvious because I am one. So I know where I hang out, but it's easy to say it when you are, but it's more challenging to figure out if I wanted to go after marketers because I had a special product. Where are you guys hanging out? And then what process can I create to flush out where you guys are hanging out, regardless of the product?
Let's say, for example, light fixtures. Let's say like Home Depot. Who follows Home Depot, right? Most people that are doing that, they probably are interested in buying similar things to light fixtures, right? Or let's say there's light fixture shop. Let's say you were selling coffee, right? Who's following the local coffee shop, right? Right? If you're selling to people who enjoy drinking coffee, you want to start off a coffee shop. Who's following these pages, right? And then from there, you can start going through their followers as long as they're not private on like social media or whatever. And then you can start seeing the accounts of people who are already expressed interest in that thing, whatever that product is. Now, let's say it's skateboarding. Well, is there a local skate shop, right? Who's following that local skate shop, right? And you want to sell skateboards? Those people have already expressed an interest in that thing that you want to sell. Now, it doesn't have to be skateboards. It doesn't have to be coffee. It doesn't have to be light fixtures. Insert whatever it is that you are offering or planning to offer, right? And then from there, find people that are already offering. And if it's something that's more local, find people that are offering it in your area. If it's something digital, it doesn't matter where people are located. Just find people that are already offering that and who's following them. Because from then, you can start generating a list of people that have already expressed interest in that particular topic. And then from there, that's how you kind of start reverse engineering. Okay, I've noticed that, this one guy, Joe Schmo, he follows this account, and that account. Okay, let me see what Joe's into. And then from there, the best thing I did was, in real estate, they do, like people will like do nurture calls. As I said, a lot of things I learned in real estate, I try to apply to what I got going on now. Just like for me, I would just start calling up people that are already in my database, already in my phone. And it's like, hey, what are your biggest struggles around, let's say light fixtures, let's say creating content, let's say starting your business, whatever it may be, right? Then question number 2 is, do you have any fears around fill in the blank? Question number 3 is like, what are you currently doing? Like, where are you currently shopping or where are you currently buying to help you with this? And then question number 4 is, in an ideal world, what does it look like when you have whatever it is that they're looking for. And then question number 5 is, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you need to get you from where you said you're doing right now to where you want to be, right? In a nutshell, and fill in the blanks wherever it's necessary. But I would literally just start getting on the phone with people, right? And figuring out where the gap is. Like just, back to old school, just start calling up people that you're already in contact with, not cold calling. You're already in communication with these people of some sort, and just figuring out what it is. Because the mistake I learned personally is I created something without figuring out if there was a need for it, right? And so
a lot of us do that. A lot of us entrepreneurs do that.
Yeah, and so my first time I launched my course, so I hopped on a little over 100 podcasts between like January and March. I was just hopping on podcasts left and right, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna teach people how to build their online presence with podcast guesting. No one asked me for it, but I was like, this idea, this strategy is golden. Like, people are gonna eat this up. And I pre-sold and 5 people enrolled, but that was nowhere near what I expected to. I'm nowhere near how many people I expected to enroll. And so from there, I started calling the people that were already interested in like marketing and social media that needed help with it. And as I said, just started calling them up on the phone, having a person-to-person conversation, and just coming from curiosity. I was like, all right, what are you struggling with? What are your things that scare you with this thing? And just trying to figure out from a curious standpoint, like, where is the gap that I need to fill based on, what the source is telling me, not what I think the source needs. So like, as I would say, in most simplest terms, just get on the phone, start talking to people, or get in front of people and figure out what it is that they actually are struggling with and find the gap there and then provide that, I would say.
Amanda, what challenges are marketers commonly facing on social media marketing today and 2024 and beyond, and how would you recommend they overcome that? You have both of you, I follow both of you on social, by the way. Both of you have amazing content. And so how do you overcome those challenges?
I do social media, but I wouldn't consider myself the reigning champion expert at it. I teach social media in a different way. So sales reps who use social outsell their peers by 78% when they use social, but it's not because of what they're posting on a regular basis. The way that I teach social is when you find your better buyer. So for instance, if you're in real estate, and let's say there's an investor that you know of and you really want them to be investing in your business, and they post a lot and you see that they're posting, or someone of high net worth that's maybe a business owner that maybe they haven't made that shift over to buying more properties and you want them to buy more properties, or even a community that has a lot of business leaders. So you pick something where if you got that just one person, it would completely change your world. That's what this strategy is important for. And I did this with a company called ClickFunnels. At the time, Dave Woodward was, for me, what I would call a dream client. We'd worked with Russell Brunson before, but I wanted to work with Dave. And every single day for 3 months, I commented on every single post that man put. I mean, I was talking about his wife. I was talking about his children. He was showing boots that he bought. I gave him advice on how, I climbed the largest freestanding mountain in the world. You've really got to wear in these boots to make sure that you're not stuck at the top of a mountain with like blisters on your feet. So wear them in before you go. I would just be perpetually commenting and showing that I care. Really, it's in his face, in his place, in his space. And through that, I was able to win them as a client. They ended up buying like 650 of the Ultimate Sales Machine books and sent it to their 2 Comma Club award winners. So all of their biggest, best clients. Then when I released the new edition, they bought another 1,000 books. And when they purchased a course story from me, they didn't even care about the price because they trusted me so much. And that's the kind of bond that we can create using social today, where we just show that we care about the people and what they're posting about and engaging with them, because the average sale takes anywhere between 5 to 12 touches today, and 90% of sales reps give up after just 3. So if you actually want to engage and follow up with somebody that's meaningful, that could be 10 times the regular business than your current clientele, then it's worth that follow-up, and you can use the fodder of what they're already posting on social to show that you care, to show that that they mean something, to show that you're listening, to show that you're considerate, to show that you are a resource to them. So that is my expertise in social. I would say it's more around social listening than it is around social posting. But that's my technique that I would recommend for others that are selling on social.
That is just freaking brilliant, by the way, Amanda. That is just a brilliant strategy. Because I kind of put, as you were sharing that, I kind of put myself in those shoes, right? If someone was constantly engaging me, I would eventually, 90, 120 days, eventually feel connected to that person. Amen.
Yeah.
You're providing me so much value. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Eventually, I'm going to start checking you out. Like, hey, what are you doing? What does she do? Like, I like this girl. She's she's giving me value. She told me about like things I care about. The blisters, my foot. I just bought new sneakers, by the way, because my sneakers. So I could totally relate to that. The sneakers, I went to I was in a flight to Tulsa and my back was hurting, and I went to my chiropractor a couple of days ago. And he said, those shoes and your insoles, you got to wear different types of sneakers. And man, that's so, you know, so when you said the thing about the shoes, I was like, yeah, my feet were hurting, my hips were hurting, my knees were hurting. I sat in that plane for so long and I was uncomfortable, could move. So I would just feel connected. If you gave me that advice, it would be like, I feel so much better with these shoes. And now I feel like I owe you something. Yeah, like I feel like I owe you something. Like, hey, what if she feels you?
At some point, they start to respect you. They're like, wow, this person has shown up for me in every way, shape, or form. I at least owe talking to them.
Dude, that's just brilliant. Brilliant. Let me ask you a question, Amanda. I'm on that. So when you're doing that strategy, you find an account or that person that you, let's say you want to land that account, or you want to build a relationship, right? Because I think over time, if you're a good human being and I believe that people are generally good. If you're an authentic person, I think over time you really do start to care and you really do start to like get in their world. I know I would, because that's just who I am. Am I ever mentioning, hey, Amanda, invest in my real estate deals. I have this 200 unit apartment building. I need $1 million or $2 million for you to invest in here, be my partner in this deal. Am I ever saying that, or I'm just building rapport online?
So when I do this in my keynotes, I actually show the DMs of my conversations with Dave. And it wasn't until the first few months, it's just hearts that he's giving me. I'm commenting. He's giving me a heart. He's not saying anything. I comment 5 more times. I don't get anything. And majority of people just give up after that point. They just look at that and they go, they're not engaging. You know, I'm annoying them. No, if you feel that you're annoying them, you probably are. You should be the bright spot in their day. How can you be that bright spot? How can you make it entertaining for you? The whole way through, I'm laughing at how I'm interacting. I'm trying to be super clever. It's engaging for me. It's about this journey of it doesn't matter, whatever it takes, I will make this happen. And because I was also posting about my things, there became this shift where he started to comment on my things as well.
That rapport,
and I realized,
automatic relationship starts to get built there, like in real life.
Yeah, so I didn't yet actually ask them for any of the sales that I made, which was pretty miraculous. But there was another client. They're a $52 billion financial firm out of India. They serve 4 million Indians. And the CEO, Motilal Oswal, I was determined that I was going to work with these people. I whatever it took. Till death do us part, I would find a way. It actually took me 6 years to follow up with this guy. And he has 250,000 followers on Twitter. And I would just perpetually follow up with him, comment, like, share. I would send him an email every once in a while. And he's a billionaire, right? So really busy guy. But I made sure that every interaction was something of value, something that gave him something he probably didn't have. So you have to be smart about reading between the lines, right? I saw that he was posting about legacy things. He was buying up 500 acres over here to put together a school, and there are 200 acres here to put together an ashram or like a healing center. And then, so all of his purchases were all around legacy, and he was posting about them. So I could tell, oh, it's about legacy. So then I started asking about his son. Does he have any children that are in the business that's going to possibly take over for him, right? So I'm reading between the lines to figure out where might he need some advice or help that I could contribute, because I'm a second generation business owner, right? So there's so much to be said about social and that fodder to be able to work with them. And eventually it came a point where I said, I'm coming to India. I would love to speak for your team. Here's what it would cost. And they said, no brainer, let's do it. And I have these epic photos of me in this like 10-story building made of glass in India with hundreds of their staff. And they actually gave me this painting of me and my father. They had a painter paint this exquisite painting of me and my dad. But it was because someone asked me as I stood on that stage, when do you give up on a prospect? And I said, I stand before you all after 6 years of follow-up. Wow. Never give up.
That's freaking, you are the champ of following up. I've been in sales I got to tell you, I've been in sales since I was 19 years old. I've been in sales all my life. I was selling my toys at 9 in the streets of New York City, but I professionally in sales since 19. And I have not yet, in my 25, 26 years of being in sales professionally, I have never, ever met anyone that has followed up for 6 years straight, man. Kudos to you, girl. Amazing. Well, kudos to you.
If you have the goal clear and aligned, right? I want to build healing centers around the world. And I knew that India was a very important part of that. And if they reach 4 million Indians, then that's one place that will get me so much more. So my why was stronger than the belief systems that believe that I was annoying them.
That's amazing. John, thoughts on that?
No, it's great. I realized early on that there's 2 ways to go about social media, right? You mentioned trends and what people should do so they don't drop the ball in 2024. And Amanda kind of mentioned it when she first started answering the first question. There's 2 paths, right? There's the path of the influencer and there's the path of the business owner. And in the first, right, the metrics that you look at to measure your success are very different than in the second. And so a lot of people are expecting business owner results with an influencer strategy and wondering where the disconnect is.
Tell us the difference, please. Please break that down.
Yeah, so it mainly goes about like when you're going down like this path of the influencer, right? You're mainly looking for virality, right? You're looking for that piece of content, that clip that just, hits, you get 1 million views, 100,000 views. You're looking to boost your follower count. You're listening to get likes and all that stuff. That's mainly what you're looking at when you're going down the path of the influencer. Now, when you're doing that, you're trying to, trend hack and see what's the new trending audio and try and stay in front of all the updates and all the algorithm, et cetera, et cetera. And that could be its own job, right? There's people who literally are full-time social media influencers for that specific reason. Like they only eat, sleep, and breathe social media. And some of these people only eat, sleep, and breathe one platform because just mastering and understanding like one platform is enough to take up a whole person's day, right? And so that's what most people are listening to these influencers, right? And how they create content and their content workflow. And of course, it's great to take ideas from other people and find out how to spin it back into your business, right? Most ideas aren't novel ideas. They're just spin-offs of people from other industries and with your own little touch on it. But like when you're going as a path of the influencer, now it's a very different approach because you might not have the biggest following or the largest view count or whatever, but then you attract $56 billion companies, right? It's very, very different how you approach.
Really quick, John, I want you to keep going. But as you said, influencer business owner strategy, the person that came to mind, whether she was here or not, it's Amanda. And I'm going to tell you why. Amanda, you put a post, I don't know, maybe a month or 2 ago that I saw. And this is all just kind of really making sense. I don't believe in coincidence. I had you both here for a reason. It just, all the dots kind of disconnected for me in my brain. You put a post, Amanda, and I don't know if you remember about, it was to the effect of this. Hey, I sold or I did this deal or done this amount of book sales. I can't remember what it was. With only XYZ amount of followers. Yeah. And you can do this and you don't need 100,000 this and that followers. And now John says this and I'm like, shit, that's right. That's it. So Amanda, you clearly operate your social media as a business owner.
Yeah.
Can you remind us, can you share with the audience what that post was about?
Yeah, I was celebrating 5,000 followers and I thought it was kind of silly because a lot of people in my space would probably have a lot more than that and many of them have purchased them, just saying. But My 5,000 followers, I've hit the bestseller list as a best-selling author with 5,000 followers. I've generated millions of dollars from my 5,000 followers. I, am managing to carry on a business with just 5,000 followers. So it's not so much about the how many. I believe a lot more that it's about the quality over the quantity. And those followers that I have are people that I have met in my keynotes, that I have worked with in my clientele, and they are so valuable to me, just as human relationships. So I think that that's critical.
That is just that's an important message. That's an important message. And John, I want you to continue with your thought. I'm so sorry I interrupted your flow there, because a lot of people get confused with influencer. They're business owners and they want to use their social media as a magnet for leads, but they don't know how to. So they think that being an influencer is a strategy, and it's just it could be very confusing unless people like yourselves or someone that person hears it from folks like you guys actually breaking it down. Go ahead, John, continue. My apologies for that.
No worries. And so we talked a lot about today about some tactics that we can do to get, clients and find our target audience. We talked some strategy as well. But above both of those is like principles, right? Principles that stand the test of time. And so like one thing I love to live my life by, it's a Drake quote. I used to listen to a lot of Drake growing up. I still do. And he says, I forget the name of the song. I'm blanking right now, but he goes, I wish you would learn to love people and use things and not the other way around. Right? I wish you would learn to love people and use things and not the other way around. And with social media, it's always, everyone always has like the what's in it for me, like what am I getting out of this? And it's like, what is your intent for doing the action that you're doing? Right? To get a little philosophical as well, it's like the law of detachment, right? The person who needs the thing the least always usually gets the thing. The guy in high school, the jock or whatever that didn't care about, anyone was cold-blooded, somehow had all the girls, right? The billionaires who don't need any more money somehow still get wealthier and richer, right? The people who are the most detached from whatever it is, right, usually get the thing that they're aiming for. And so like to tie it back to what we're talking about, like social media marketing, both Amanda and I both learn and know a lot about direct response marketing. Why? Because even though it's a digital age that we're in now, a lot of those principles have still stood the test of time. And no matter what the platform is, will always stand the test of time. And learning more about human psychology and human nature and how people interact with each other, you start understanding humans at a deeper level. It doesn't matter what the platform is or what strategy you use, whether you want to do Facebook ads or Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, whatever. You start understanding people more, right? Then no matter what the platform is, you'll be able to find the success that you're looking for as long as you're clear as to what it is that you're looking for. As I said, there's two different paths between the influencer and the business owner. And so knowing which path you want to take, each one comes with its own perks and cons. Like, for example, we may not be able to get, a multi-six-figure brand deal with a 2K followers, right? It's very, very, very unlikely, right? But you may be able to get one high-end client that joined. I don't have a mastermind, but I know tons of people who join masterminds, 40, 60, 80K masterminds, because they've been following someone on social media. Doesn't have that many followers, but they just know the value of their content, right? And so it's like, which angle are you planning on taking? Know that both angles have different end goals and end rewards and end cons that come with it, and figure out which one is the best for you. Then applying some of those principles that stood the test of time to whatever strategy and tactics that you're following.
Thank you both for being such amazing guests. I could sit here with you both for another hour, 2 hours unpacking this stuff, but I know you both are busy and I want to be respectful of your time. One piece of wisdom on marketing from each of you before we close it up. I'm going to go with you, Amanda. Before we close it up, what's the one piece of marketing wisdom that you're going to give to someone that's listening to us, regardless of their industry, as we're going into a new year in 2024? What's your one piece? And then John, what's your one piece of marketing wisdom that you're going to give to someone in 2024? Amanda, you talked about a recession, and I would love, because the business is my game, right? I'd love to get into, like, I was itching to get into the, to talk about that. You gave some really, really, really good stats, and I'd love to have you back and we can talk a little bit about that, because I also am in the camp that I do believe that we are in a recession. We're seeing contraction, and I love data. I love all the stuff all the things that influence real estate. It's all, I love that stuff. And then you talked about marketing and things like that. So that's another podcast for another time. But as we're going into 2024, considering that I am in the camp that we're in a contraction, we're in a time of contraction for businesses, what's the one piece of wisdom you give as it pertains to marketing to businesses in 24 and beyond?
Yeah, I would just bring it back to yourself, the best version of you. If you can continue to practice and get in alignment and strive to be that best version of you, then everything else flows from that. But if you're out of alignment with you, everything else will be more difficult.
You, Amanda, if people wanted to connect with you, how do they find you?
Yeah, ultimatesalesmachine.com or Amandita Holmes on Instagram, which is my salsa name. Amanda Holmes was taken, so Amandita Holmes.
Awesome. John, what is your piece of advice, my friend, for a business owner or marketer listening to us for 2024? What's your wisdom? What's your nugget that you're giving them?
Yeah, I slightly alluded to it earlier in the conversation, so I want to just spin it back, because I think we talked about a lot of good stuff today, and I really don't want this piece to go over your head, right? When I say AI won't replace you, someone using AI will. It's not a joke. The way this stuff is evolving is insanely fast. When ChatGPT first came out to where it is now, it's only been a year, and all the stuff that it's doing, all these tricks, and that's just one AI tool out of the hundreds that's come out in the past few months, right? And it's only going to get faster. All these new startup companies are becoming more nimble. They're applying more tools, and the barrier to enter content creation is becoming less and less. And that's just for the marketing side of it. You can use AI for your systems, for your operations, for your hiring, for your onboarding process, for your follow-up sequences, for your nurture campaign, for every aspect of your business can be influenced by this stuff. It can be, boosted up, right? And amplified, there we go, amplified by this technology, right? So AI won't replace you. Someone using AI will.
That's brilliant. That's a brilliant statement, man. AI won't replace you. Someone using it will. Wow. Because it could do so much more for you faster than you could. John, if people wanted to connect with you, find you, attend maybe one of your keynotes or go to one of your events. I know you mentioned earlier you're working on an event. How do people connect with you? Where do they find you? How do they just man, I really like this guy. I want to learn more from him. Where do they go?
Well, first of all, again, thank you for having me back on. I love what you got going on. I love following you, keeping up with you, man. So thanks again for the opportunity making this happen. And so for anyone that's looking to start leveraging AI to harness the power of what it's truly capable of, I'm actually hosting a challenge, the AI Won't Replace Me Challenge, right? For any business owner that's looking to start using this to level up their business and their marketing efforts. And you can literally go to www.aiwon'treplacemechallenge.com. Again, that's www.aiwon'treplacemechallenge.com. It's going to be a free challenge starting January 8th to start the new year. I know during this winter time, everyone's like to take their foot off the gas, strategize, spend time with family, and everyone want to come back fired up after New Year's. So exactly why I'm doing it that second week to kickstart that new year so you can have AI influencing and amplifying your business all 2024.
My friend, thank you so much for coming on and being here, dude. This was a great podcast. I'm going to be listening to this myself once it goes live. So thank you, sir. Thank you. And for the listeners, man, you guys heard it here. One thing that I got from both of these guests was consistently from you and Amanda, John, is that you got to get clear, right? I learned something many, many years ago from one of my mentors, and it's that clarity is power. And when you are clear, you exude confidence in everything that you do. When you are clear on what it is that you want. And it's the same thing that it's kind of the same theme I kept hearing from the both of you is what is it that you want? That clarity. You got to get clear on what is it that you want and where you're going and what you're doing. And again, for me, the biggest takeaway is that clarity as it pertains to marketing is, I'm going to say, one of the biggest and most important things, because you can build from there. My brother,
Yeah,
thank you so
100%.
much for being here. Really appreciate you, John. And guys, thank you for listening. Again, if you want to find John, go ahead and everything he said, where you find him is going to be in the show notes. So go and connect with him. Just click on the links and you'll find them. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys listening and or watching.